So today I will be talking about Constantin Brancusi. About Constantine. Constantine was born February 19th, 1876 in Hobita, Romania. He began working at the age of 7. He was born and raised on a farm. He herded sheep, but as a young age he was able to show major skills in carving wood. Brancusi was a frequent runaway. He attempted to escape his abusive treatment by his father and his brothers early on in his life. He left home at the age of 11. He worked for about 2 years until he was able to save enough money to go to the School of Arts and Crafts, where he became a skilled woodworker. One of his ambitious projects while at school was carving a violin out of an orange crate, which I was not able to find a picture of. Um, while studying sculpture at the National School of Fine Arts in Romania, Brancusi won competitive awards for his sculptures. One of his earliest works is still in existence in Ochoce. This is a statue of a man with the skin removed to expose the muscles underneath. And that statue actually led to Brancusi's next step in his art career. In 1904, he decided to pursue his art career and he moved to Paris. He worked in Paris for a little bit, but he soon became the assistant of a famous artist named Auguste Rodin. Rodin is known as one of the greatest sculptors of all time, even known as the father of modern sculpture. His works were centered around the attempt to create sculptures and figures that were extremely realistic. The image shown is Rodin's The Thinker. It was originally created to be a part of another piece of his. The bronze statue is a man contemplating the actions and fate of his people. He's usually sitting on a base with people below him, so it looks like he is looking at his people contemplating it. However, this picture does not show that. Um, but he only worked for Rodin for about a month, and then he was set on the idea of not living in Rodin's shadow because he wanted to be one of the greats himself. So in 1907, Brancusi created this sculpture called The Boy. It was his first major creation. The sculpture shows the torso of a young man, and as you can see, the young man is clearly showing emotion. It looks like he is sad and he's tilting his head to show emotion. However, it's not a sculpture similar to Rodin because of the smoothness and the lack of detail. And this was Brancusi's way of escaping the shadow of Rodin. He used a more direct way of sculpting. And this one's actually made out of bronze, and you can see the smoothness of the bronze and the lack of detail to show the simplicity and the minimalistic aspects of Brancusi's artwork. This is The Kiss. Now that Brancusi has broken away from Rodin and began finding his own style, Brancusi begins to create pieces that would make a true name for himself. The Kiss was made in 1907, and it was a major spin-off from the realistic sculptures that he made in the past. The sculpture is made out of plaster, and it shows two lovers embracing each other. This piece is known for its simplicity, the simplicity in the shape and the features. As you can see, it's not shaped like a normal two people would be. It's blocks with minimal features, but you can definitely tell what they are. You can see some sort of emotion, definitely with the arms embracing each other and the lips touching, and the eyes on each other. You can tell where he was trying to go with this. And after he had produced this, he had made a name for himself in the art world. The next piece of art shown by Brancusi is his Sleeping Muse, which was made in 1909. This bronze statue shows the head of a woman lying on her side. He focuses on his techniques of making sure that the figure is not too realistic, but still shows emotion and the facial features of a woman. The details are seen to make out almost the features of a goddess, and it kind of provides a feeling of peace when I view the sculpture because I can see the smoothness and the subtleness and how she's resting on her side, and it just looks like she's at peace. You can see her mouth is kind of almost open, and it seems like she is at pure rest, and the hair is, you can see the hair comb back, and it's just peaceful. So this is my favorite work done by Brancusi. It's called the Endless Column. When I researched this, I thought it was the coolest because of his childhood experiences with woodworking, and when he came up becoming an artist, he was started as a skilled wood carver. And at first, I thought that this was going to be cool just because of the wood. But when I dug deeper into it, I realized that if you look closely, you can see the pyramids shaped in a way that if you view it, they can be seen as endless. And this was shown to show the ascension in a higher power. He did this because he believed in a higher power, and he did this with so much simplicity, and the design and the texture of these wooden pyramids made out of oak. It's so simple yet so complex, and it shows the way that Brancusi was able to take ideas of something so complex and make it so simple. The next piece of art by Brancusi was his sculpture, The Sorceress. This sculpture is made of the trunk of a tree where three branches were meeting. He used this wood and his carving techniques to use his simplistic ways of sculpting to make a witch. It is hard for me to see the witch. However, I can focus on the base of the carvings and the tribal carvings that he put into the base of the sculpture. And oftentimes he would incorporate the base of the sculpture with the rest, which was not actually common back then. And you can just see the design and tribal art carved into the wood by Brancusi to really create something beautiful with the base of this piece. He was one of the main reasons why artists began to question whether the base should be considered just as important as the rest of the piece. And I think the sorcerer shows a perfect example of why it was so important to Brancusi to ensure that the base was able to help describe his sculpture with simplicity. The last piece of artwork I'll be covering done by Brancusi was his sculpture Bird in Space. Made out of bronze, Brancusi creates one of the most simple yet meaningful pieces he's ever created. He made over 14 of these sculptures, all different but all made very similar. This sculpture doesn't focus on the shape of the bird, instead, it focuses on its movement. The elongated body and lack of detail help show the viewer the authenticity of the piece, and it shows the elegancy of a bird in space. However, at first, this piece was very controversial. It was not accepted by many, and it actually led to a legal dispute to determine if it was actually considered artwork, which it ended up being considered artwork, and it eventually sold at auction for $27.5 million, which at the time was a record for a sculpture sold at auction. So, in conclusion, Brancusi can be remembered as one of the greatest sculptors to ever live. His direct way of carving and use of materials were embraced by many, and Brancusi became a major impact on the generations of sculptors. Brancusi was able to embrace his childhood and his upbringing and incorporated his experience with woodwork into his artwork. His abstract and minimalistic way of sculpting can be shown and exampled for many years to come because of its simple beauty. Later on in his career, Brancusi was chosen to build a meditation temple in India. However, he died before he was able to construct it. Brancusi died on March 16, 1957, but the artwork created by him will live on for a long time to come. Thank you.